Hello and welcome everyone to the High Ground podcast. I am super excited because we're going to be talking about Star Wars canon today, which big canon fan, big Legends fan, and I think we need to be able to respect both, and we're going to have that whole conversation. But we are going to do it right here on the High Ground. Hello and welcome, my guests here on the High Ground podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Doing well.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I invited you guys all because, you're big canon people, and we're always talking. I'm seeing a lot of stuff. A lot of you, it's the first time. Connor, it's the second time. Well, Connor with two N's. But it's been over a year since I've had you on, so I'm sorry it's been so long. It's nice to see you here, buddy.
No worries, absolutely.
But yeah, let's start by we're gonna go around the room and introduce everyone. Say who are you, where we can find your awesome content, and you know what? The question I wrote was too basic. I'm gonna throw an audible at you guys. Okay.
Oh, great.
The question, and it's for everyone in the chat too.
On the spot.
The question is, who's the drippiest character in Star Wars? Who's got the best drip?
What's her freaking name?
So dig deep.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm digging deep here.
Think.
I'll go to.
Yeah, I got it.
Perfect. I'll go to Connor Fahey first.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Connor, a.k.a. Jedi Connor, and I'm on TikTok on Jedi.Connor, Twitter, Jedi.Connor, and also soon to be YouTube. I'm in the works of editing my first YouTube video. And so, drippiest in Star Wars, I'd have to give it to my guy, Hondo Ohnaka. The pirate, okay. He's got all these chains and all these little necklaces and stuff, and I think he definitely has the drippiest, and he's the funniest character in Star Wars, I think.
All right, no, that's fair. That's fair. He's like eight chains Hondo. He's also got some of the best swagger too. So I appreciate it. How about you, Star Wars fact guy, aka Tate?
That is me. I've known my many names. You can call me Tate. You can call me Star Wars Fact Guy. You can follow me on TikTok, Star Wars Fact Guy. That's fact, not facts. That's a very common misconception. We clear that up immediately. But yeah, every day I'm breaking down Star Wars facts, trivia, little connections, and maybe some prompts that would make you want to explore the universe a little bit further. Real curveball though with that question, Choco. I'm looking at my crib notes now, and they're not giving me any feedback. But it's a bit of a basic one, but honestly, I think what I love about Solo so much is it just solidified that Lando is the god of drip in Star Wars. The man had an entire closet full of just capes, right? A cape for every occasion. I think it's described, he's got like a cape for winter wear, he's got a cape for summer planets, he's got tropical drip. And his pajamas at the end of Solo, his little pajamas with the fluffy clouds, best outfit in Star Wars, hands down.
All right, I love it. I appreciate it. Real quick before we hit up the other Connor, I just want to say I have some people in chat saying that. Let's see here. We got some love for Count Dooku, his trip. Yeah. We definitely got a few votes for Lando, just in the Star Wars channel. Russian Mike, Dukes. Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Obi-Wan said that. Darthman86 said Obi-Wan. Amber Medina said Babu Frick. We got Poggle the Lesser.
I respect that.
Poggle the Lesser, honestly, you're right. That should have been number one. It should have been.
Some Hondo love. We have Leox.
Kelsey
is one of them.
Yeah.
Space Matthew McConaughey, I do agree. Yep. He has that little regular like necklace and that open vested kind of little look that he's got. I can see that.
Yes, and we had and Sorry, Alex. I'll reach out to you as soon as we finish this part. Alex is also going to be joining us. But yeah, no, lots of love all the way around. But yeah, Connor, what? Okay, Connor with two N's. I'm just going to call you Fahey, if that's cool.
Perfect.
Connor with one N. You're Connor. All right. Perfect. Connor, how about you?
Well, people mainly can find me on Twitter at DepaBanana. Recently just changed my name there. But that's where I'm most active on social media. I also have Instagram and Discord, but I'll plug all that other good stuff at the end. In terms of Star Wars character with the most drip, I gotta give it to Deva Lompop. She is from the comics, recently introduced by Justina Ireland. She wrote a one-shot of her. She's in the High Republic too, and just she has incredible drip. Her outfit is just spot on. So
nice. I love it. Yeah, so you guys are naming some amazing people. Okay, so reading Into the Dark, Orla Jareni and just her pristine all white.
Yes.
All the time. Just how they would be like
Queen.
She's like down and like fighting people with her bare hand, and then it would be like, and somehow her outfit was pristine white still. And you're like, oh, I don't know how she's doing it, but I'm for it.
There's something about the High Republic and drip. Everything in the High Republic can be like surmised by the one word. It's just drip. I mean, the fact that the Jedi have two robes, one just for like fancy dress wear, it's the era of drip. The Drip Republic, honestly.
Yep.
Yep. That's absolutely. And real quick, we have another person joining. So let's go ahead and bring him up now. Hello, Alex. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm all right. How are y'all doing?
Doing
pretty
fantastic.
Yeah.
So real quick, I asked the question, and I threw an audible at everyone, so you're gonna have to deal with it. I said, "Who are you? Where can we find you and your awesome content? And who has the most drip in Star Wars?"
So Sunshine Mayfield, B&B_pod is where you can find me on all the social medias. That is actually for our Avatar, The Last Airbender podcast, which is what I initially started my TikTok for. That very quickly turned into a Star Wars TikTok, which was unexpected, but worked out well. So you can find me there for all that stuff. The most drip, I'm going to go with Amelin Holdo.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She's got a style, specifically in the comics that I've seen, but also in the way that she just steps onto the bridge. I respect the hell out of her. She's one of my favorites. I think she's got a lot of style. It's a subtle drip, but it's there.
Subtle drip. I respect that.
I like it. And then also I do have to give a shout out to one of the queens of drip, Kira, because on Solo, she's always bringing it. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, and Padme too.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean that is the ultimate queen of drip. I don't even know. I didn't even think of her. Jesus, what's wrong with me? Looks like he may have dropped out, but I'm sure he will be back.
The Empire's trying to get him.
Yeah.
No worries. All right. So question going forward, and of course this is conversational, so feel free to jump in and and chat. I just kind of go with people specifically to start, so that we don't all say the same thing. Like forcing you guys to not have one person get the first prompt every single time. But yeah, I'm gonna ask, what's the first story you remember that made you want to deep dive, and kind of like what is your experience overall with the canon and expanded universe? and I will go with Tate first on this one.
Nice. I mean, if you've heard my story before, you know me, South Africans, so growing up, we really didn't have, like, comic books and EU novels and stuff at the ready, you know, that just wasn't a thing for me. So Wikipedia was kind of like my main vice. And I remember playing Lego Star Wars, and I would see a new character that I didn't know, and I would, like, scribble the name down on a piece of paper, and then I would, like, save it for later. I'd ask my dad, I'm like, who is, like, Kit Fistu? Like, who's this dude? Who's Count Dooku? Like, who's that guy? So I remember I would just research as much as I could, like, go to the library, look at visual dictionaries and stuff. But then I kind of, like, fell off a little bit. But when Star Wars really came back with the Disney era, the thing that really got me back into it was Rogue One, which, if you follow me, you know it's my favorite Star Wars movie. I love it to bits. And I think it just thematically, the way that Rogue One operates with, like, themes of, like, sacrifice, the importance of life, every person fighting in war is, like, an individual with their own motives and their own goals. It kind of speaks to a lot of what, like, I appreciate in Star Wars. So I went to the visual dictionary. I'm like, I want to know everyone who is on the beach in Scarif. Like, they're a damn hero. I got to know them. So I started tracking them down. I said, okay, this is this person, this is this person, this guy who handed, like, Bodhi the extension cord, that's them. And I tried to create a timeline of where they had been prior so I could see where they were leading up to, like, that fateful battle. And then from there, it was just a ripple effect. Diving in, I'm like, oh, what's this book? Oh, what's this book? And 5 years later, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars, like, tucked away into my brain that replaced all other knowledge that I actually need for life.
I love it. And real quick, I gotta. Hopefully this isn't too much, but I gotta shout out Sand Hater. Also love Rogue One. Big fan of your channel.
Yeah, thank you.
Star Wars Lawyer. We love Rogue One. Oh, tons and tons of Rogue One.
I'm telling you, Rogue One fans are making a comeback. I'm telling you.
Which is funny because I didn't like it when I walked out of the theaters. It wasn't until I had a Rogue One episode of this podcast that I could really got to the point of appreciating it fully. But Connor, what do you think?
Rogue One. Yeah, that's the same story for me.
Let's go. Let's go.
So I'll just go back to my just Star Wars story in general. I remember watching the action scenes specifically of Phantom Menace and Return of the Jedi as a kid. I saw Revenge of the Sith at 8 years old in 2005, and then I remember watching the Clone Wars film, getting into Clone Wars, and watching it with a friend who was big into Legends, and they still are really. They're not as. I don't think they've really read much of the current canon. They've just been Legends all the way. So they really helped me get into Star Wars. But then my sort of love for it kind of fell off just because of college, not because of college, but because of middle school and high school, because I was just so busy with school and cross country and everything that I just didn't really have much time for it. So Rogue One was honestly my reintroduction because, like, I saw Force Awakens in theaters, but I only saw it once. So I didn't really have, and I discussed it with friends, but it never was like, I wasn't like super excited to get into the universe, but Rogue One really was because it was like the first quote unquote EU movie in Star Wars. And so I was like, ooh, I want to know more about this universe now, because it's like, if we can get all this cool stuff in a movie, I wonder what else is there. And so I ended up getting into the books and getting into the comics and getting into everything. And so just, yeah, it's pretty big springboard.
I love it. I got Dat Boy Steve in the chat. I love both canons. Dark Disciple was my first novel, and Darth Plagueis was my first Legends novel. Both incredible books. A man of taste. Julia Christine knows a lot about canon now because of one special boy. That special boy, of course, being Corky Kenobi. I say Corky Kenobi. I'm not even a Corky trooper. She's just like ingrained it into my mind, and that's just what.
It's conditioning.
I respect it.
Exactly.
I love it though. All right, we got. How about you, Sunshine?
Yeah, so I grew up watching the original trilogy, but never really like loved it. But like my family would watch it every now and then, and so and then I watched the original movies when they came out in theaters, and I honestly I didn't love them then. I'm still like rumbling with them now, but with much more like care and grace. I know they're very loved, and so. But really, what got me to jump into canon was I watched season 2 of The Mandalorian with my fiance, and I didn't know who Bo-Katan was, and I didn't know what the Darksaber was, and I don't like to not know things. And so at that point, I was like, I got to go back. If we're going to keep getting these things in media, I need to know who they are and what they are. And if anything's ever been said true about me is if I go into something, I go into something.
Yeah.
And so I said, why not try to do the entire Star Wars canon in a year?
It's a madman.
It would be so much more easy if the High Republic wasn't pumping out new material honestly like every week.
Yep.
Just like, because like the other day I was like, Out of the Shadows is already out and Tempest Runner. Like I didn't know, so then I have to like put everything on pause and jump back to it. But that's what got me into it. And then on because I'd also seen the sequel trilogy at this point. Jumping into canon, seen all the movies, and then Mandalorian, and I'd seen seasons of Clone Wars, but then always like fell off at some point, and so was just determined to go through everything this year, and so now that's been my life. That's where I'm at for the next 3 months, is to just try to push through everything from 0 ABY to the end. Luckily, it's Star Wars is very front loaded on the canon side of things, which is I think is helpful. But yeah, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing.
It's been super fun though watching you go through it, and there's certain things like I've read all of the canon like big novels, but seeing you go into the nitty gritty and like the small stuff that I've overlooked, and then you'll say it's like good. I'm like, oh, I gotta pick that up too. Then I guess like, dang, like.
Yeah, Guardian of the Whills was a massive surprise for me, as we talked about love of Rogue One.
It's a good one.
It's just listed as like a young reader's novel. I loved it.
I need
one
to
of my
read
favorite
that.
books that I've done so far, and so that's I
Thank you.
can't recommend it enough.
Okay.
They actually just came out with a comic for it as well. I just picked that up. Element 7 says Empire got me into everything expanded, and that naturally led to new canon. Yeah, and there is Julia saying Bo-Katan is just one step away. Camilla says that your canon challenge run is legendary, and it truly is.
That's incredible. I don't think I can do that.
One of us.
It's a part-time job. It's a part.
It honestly is.
The question is
16 hours a week. Like, I'm starting to like shut like Audible at one point like 6 per like times speed of books is becoming a lifesaver at this point.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, I do everything. Everything is 2x. I can't even. I don't know. I've lost the attention span to do it slowly. Actually, I find that speeding it up means I am less listening to the words, and I'm more just like feeling the story. You know what I mean? Because when you read, a lot of times you end up like saying the words out loud in your head, which is not necessary. We think way faster than we can speak, so it's like taking off those training wheels and just going ham, you know?
Yep.
Not to mention all the Audible, like all the books, all the audiobooks are just absolutely stellar when it comes to like production and performance and everything they add into it, which also just makes it a really nice immersive experience as opposed to sitting at, my mind is very creative, but it's very nice to have sound effects and things like that as we go through. And
because I finished I just recently finished Dooku Jedi Lost by Kevin Scott.
Banger.
So freaking good. Like I didn't know how he was going to handle how Dooku would depart the order, but he handled it so well, and it gives me so much hope that he'll handle another certain Jedi in the High Republic and their possible departure the same way.
So. Right. And the High Republic books have like original scores too, so that's
Yeah.
super cool to hear when you're listening to that.
Dude, in Light of the Jedi, there's a scene where they first show the Nile and they're listening to what's called wreck punk, and like it's just like weird industrial metal music playing. I was just like, oh man, this is a jam, you know? And it's
They would
ruined.
totally listen to the Who.
Oh yeah.
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 And they blast their music like while they're in battle. You're just like getting attacked and there's just like this raging music going on. You're like, what is going on?
It's
incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah. But yeah, how about you, Fahey?
Yeah, so I was introduced to Star Wars like before I could remember. My dad was a big fan of the original movies, and I really started to enjoy it when Lego Star Wars came out. The original Lego Star Wars game, I played that. Me and my brother would play it till we were falling asleep, and we also had like lightsabers we could like flick out, and we would like hurt each other and stuff. But I was a huge fan also of the 2003 Clone Wars series that came out. And that was like my first introduction. I was like, wow, like who is this dirge? Like who are all these people? And then I wasn't allowed to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters because it was PG-13 and I was not 13. My parents didn't let me. So I still have beef with them, but it's okay. But I was just a fan of the movies up until like middle school, and then I kind of took a break from it in high school, and then in college is where I really picked it back up again. One of my roommates, John Bates, shout out, Daddy_Sheev on TikTok. He was my freshman year roommate, and he really got me back into Star Wars. And Rogue One was, I think that was the first movie that I saw in theaters, first Star Wars movie that I saw in theaters. And then The Last Jedi was where I really started to take like a deep dive into lore, basically off of Snoke. I was like super into like the Snoke theory videos on YouTube, and I would try to like find every detail of, was he Palpatine? Was he Darth Plagueis? Was he like a Prime Jedi originally? Like I was all in on Snoke, and I still love Snoke. But what really got me into like expanded media and like the books and stuff was TikTok. I found Star Wars TikTok in like December 2019, and specifically Chaco was the first one to recommend the Revenge of the Sith novelization, which just springboarded my love for Star Wars books, because that book is just insane. And then people started, like I started making content and people started to ask me questions. I'm like, I'm looking stuff up, but it says that it's in a book, so I might as well just start reading all of them. And I fell in love with the books.
Yeah, I remember. It's funny because like when I first joined, I was like, oh man, I want to talk to people about books, and I'd find cool people like, oh, do you want some?
Yeah. So on the low, do you want some?
Look, I just want to mention, that's 3 out of 3 for Rogue One being the prime reason that people got into Canon.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. Just
That
wanted to
was the first
say
movie I also saw in theaters. That was my freshman year of college. That came out my freshman year of college.
Yep.
something about Rogue One. Just saying.
Something about it. And I gotta say, the Ashes of Jeddah comic arc from the 2015
so
main
good.
run, so freaking good. It ties in so intimately to Rogue One. And Hope dies too, especially with how we find out how Rogue Squadron is named.
Oh, it's so good.
Just top tier Star Wars right there.
Everything centered around Rogue One is really like, I won't ramble too long, but it's so like woven together, like so tightly knit that it's like one complete story if you want to like connect the tapestry together. I mean, it's just too good. Too good.
Well, I mean, so after, because like I said, I was disappointed with Rogue One, and so after that, I had to, like, I read Catalyst, which I loved, because I just really like Jason Luceno. I mean,
I gotta reread that.
He pumps like just detail after detail. It's like reading a textbook in the first half of all of his books, but all of those details like start connecting and stuff. It's like reading Hickman's stuff on the Marvels, where it all ties together. But the first half, you're like, what? And Rebel Rising as well.
Oh god,
great book.
what a book! That was incredible.
So it looks like I got people, because I think on this podcast I'm gonna go through all of the movies again, but with different people this time, because when I started, when I started this podcast, I had like I think I was maybe at 10,000. And unfortunately, I had some amazing guests on really early, but like, there's more people I want to talk to. Like, I didn't know who to reach out to for Rogue One, and I'd love to do it again with, with Tate and Stardust M. I don't know if you're following her on TikTok.
She's amazing.
But, like, yeah, I love it. We have a lot of love in here. Camilla says Catalyst, a surprising read to be sure. Loved it.
Yep.
Apparently, I'm not saying James Lucino right, but you can't type out James Lucino.
Yeah.
That doesn't help me pronounce it. So Lucino, I don't know.
I always thought it was Lucino as well.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Star Wars names.
I just like to call him James. We're on a first name basis, so
Yeah, I know him.
So we're gonna kind of like scrunch some of these questions up. So, what do you guys think of this whole canon versus Legends debate? Do we need to continue the Legends timeline? And what do you think about these non-canon projects that we're getting now, like like Visions, and obviously this Lego stuff isn't canon. You can't like pull off your head and stuff like that.
Would be a lot cooler. Good.
It would make Maul's defeat a lot less tragic. He seems to have done all right by himself in the Lego universe. But yeah, what do you guys think of those? I will go to Connor first.
Okay, so for what if I think about any of the whole Legends and canon debate, I think they can coexist. It's just weird that there's like a quote unquote war happening between the two. I'm a big stickler for canon. Wow, I can't talk. I always will be, but with continuing the Legends timeline, I wouldn't mind it. I'd be happy for the people that would want those stories to be continued, such as like Sword of the Jedi. I know that was supposed to be, written and everything and finished, and then once the canon was reset, they scrapped it. So I wouldn't mind if unfinished Legends stories became finished. So then you could make those Legends fans happy that want those stories finished. So I think they can coexist. I think there can be two timelines. Even though I'm using timelines here like very, very loosely, because multiverses and Star Wars just not a fan. But non-canon projects like Visions and the KOTOR remake, all for it, because they allow Star Wars to open up their storytelling boundaries and sort of just get more crazy and bold and incredible. So yeah, I'm for it.
Okay, nice. I like it. And Sunshine.
Well, so as someone who has never played KOTOR or also
Same.
has not read 1 ounce of Legends content, for me, it's stories are always meant to connect and to allow for empathy and for people to experience things that are new. And so whether a story is canonized or not, if it brings you joy, if it brings you the feelings that storytelling is supposed to bring you, then do all of it, right? Like, make as many stories as you want, write as many stories as you want, read as many as you like, all of it. The kicker is that when you start to argue like what is real and what is not, like it's all fiction, right? So maybe no one's done the research on a galaxy far, far away way back when. So, but I think that's when you start to like use Legends versus canon as a way to minimize the representation that people feel, or a way to minimize the joy that people feel. Like, why don't do that? Why do that? And so I think for me, it's like, have it all. Let those stories be stories that are important to you, and don't argue. Like, there's no necessary, like, it drives me up the wall when someone like argues about whether or not Rey is a good character, because the reality is what you think on that matters to you, which is fine, but it doesn't matter. If someone feels joy from experiencing that character and seeing that character in canon, because there is a legitimacy that comes with, I think, being a part of canon, because it's recognized on a cultural basis. I think in that sense, like, why would you try to rip that joy away from someone who feels seen, or who feels like they see themselves in Rey or in Finn or in any other character that now exists that's canonized? So I think for me, enjoy the stories that you want. Don't let your opinions cause harm to other people, and don't try to take away the joy that other people feel by trying to discredit, the stories that are being told. So I think that's where I kind of land on all of it. Let it all be, and let people enjoy things. Unless that joy, here's my only caveat to that, unless your opinion or feelings on it is rooted in like misogyny, racism, all of that type of thing, then that's a bad opinion. That doesn't get to exist in a space that I think where we're creating. Other than that, if people are feeling joy for things that aren't rooted in those things, let them do it and let them have it. And why would you take that away from someone?
Yep.
Well
said.
That was
There
beautiful.
You go.
Okay, apparently I said Jason Lucino, not James Lucino, and that's what he was correcting. Okay. Gotcha.
All right.
Also, Becca Shea in the chat also saying Rogue One's the best movie.
There we go.
I feel like we already have a full cast for when we get to Rogue One again.
There you go.
So yeah, let's see. Apparently, Legends Thrawn is even more feral than Canon Thrawn. He's definitely a lot more like, he's a straight villain. He's a bad guy. He doesn't have redeeming qualities. Like, that's
and he gets killed by I remember seeing his death in like a guidebook, like one of those reference books for Legends, but I can't remember like what exactly happens.
His bodyguard Rook killed him because he found out that, I think, Thrawn was exploiting his people or something like that, or his like further.
Big time. That was not good. But I do want to find. I do wish it was more Nogri. Just in canon.
Poor Canon Rook here. Poor Canon Rook got the shaft.
Evan Hopkins says a Rancor Jedi. I don't even know what that is, but I just had to call it out.
Maybe.
Harris says Canon versus Legends is a weird debate. Both have their strengths and flaws. Absolutely. And what do you think about it, Connor? Or Faggy?
No, I mean, everything that Alex said and Connor said, definitely agree with. Like, if you enjoy these stories, because I'm kind of in the same boat as Alex, where I have read very little Legends. I've read Bane Trilogy and Plagueis, which are top tier, but like the thing that I deal with a lot of, like, almost all canon facts on my channel, and when people try to like take away from canon with Legends, like, oh, but in Legends it was this, so it should be this and this, that's when I start to have a problem with like the toxicity. And it could go both ways. Like, people who follow canon can be toxic, and then people who are Legends fans, like, they can both be toxic. But like, just don't take away from other people's joy and try to like prove other people wrong just because you enjoy something else, which I see a lot in comments, which is obviously not good. But
No.
The projects like Visions and KOTOR, I think they are great. Like you guys said, the Visions, some of the best Star Wars that I've seen. They're just super creative, and they're not held to anything, which is great. And it's just kind of, it made me feel like that magic of Star Wars was back. And it put me in a really like excited place for Star Wars if they keep going on with these non-canon projects that just expand creativity.
Yeah. Brooke in the chat says, I would love it if the KOTOR remake was made canon, because it's a cool time period. There's still just some odd things that happen, but that's one of the reasons why I highly recommend reading Old Republic stuff. It's so far behind that
it doesn't even really touch canon.
Exactly.
I just need the combat to be overhauled. I can't do turn-based combat at all.
I agree.
I don't want to fight Sith troopers and have to do just like 4 turns. Like, no, just give me respawn. Have respawn do the combat. Give me just Fallen Order type style combat or something, and just let me hack them up.
See, the thing I'm arguing for is Dragon Age style combat, where you can control the different people individually. You can like scroll up and tell them to you go here, you go here, you go here.
Yeah.
But it's still active. I feel like we still need that the RPG elements to it. But there was definite issues. I have a friend who played it and made her character as such, like build it in such a way that the game is unplayable and I had to start over. Let's see. Becca here is shouting out Village Bride, Ninth Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Village Bride.
Yes. Oh, those were back-to-back bangers, man. Those were so freaking good.
Elma Zema has a great point here. Is like they should have to categorize continuities though, because Visions is legend. Each of those Visions shorts don't fit together, but they're all legends, and they also don't mash with like New Jedi Order, and a lot of stuff. So that's where it gets kind of confusing. But what are your thoughts on it, Tate?
It seems very apparent that I might be the black sheep of this discussion, because I have a very strong opinion on this, but I'll be very careful with my phrasing. But I think the canon legends debate is, it's a debate. It's a debate so good because it encourages rhetoric, but I think a lot of the rhetoric around the debate is rooted in a lot of misplaced perspective. A lot of it is fueled by individuals that have nothing but like agenda of hatred, of misogyny and racism. And of course, there's so many Legends fans out there. I mean, I think a lot of the fandom comes from Legends and that background of having read and grown up with those stories. But I feel like nowadays there's a lot of, I don't know how to put it, a new wave Legends community that doesn't really engage with that content, but they almost secondary smoke it from creators who want to spread kind of negativity towards it and fuel the debate to be like, oh, well, yeah, this was better in Legends. And then it just spirals downwards, which is, again, not to dismiss anyone who is a Legends fan. There are so many, and I think we'd be remiss to say that canon doesn't borrow from Legends, because it does. So much of canon borrows from Legends. People will always say the idea like, oh, canon just ignored Legends. It ignored Legends. I'm like, yeah, but it brought back Thrawn. And there's at least 50 Legends references in every book. And oh, you like KOTOR 2? Mitra Surik is mentioned in the High Republic by name. So these things are coming back. I think a war at this point is kind of pointless because it's intertextuality. It's taking the best from Legends, bringing it into canon. So trying to put the two against each other, like two trains going to collide, it's not going to be a pretty picture. So I wish just nowadays more people would allow themselves, just to humbled, opened up, and see that you're kind of getting the best of both worlds together. Like, you like bounty hunter stories? Cool. They brought back Baelot Valance from the Legends comics. He's a main character. He's got a book. If you care about Legends, there he is. Read his book.
He's pretty freaking
it's awesome.
Good. I'm going through those comics now.
It's fantastic. He's literally the Terminator before the Terminator. Like James Cameron, I have questions. James Cameron. What's up with that? But taking that forward quickly just to the topic of like non-canon, do we need to continue Legends? No, that's my opinion. I think, like I said, we're borrowing the best from Legends at the moment and incorporating that into canon. We're getting so many things that are coming back. The best of the best are being brought back. So I think, it's always nice to have closure. And I think a really good allegory for something like this, I'd say maybe you could compare this to something like Zack Snyder's Justice League, where you didn't really get the true cut of the vision completed until a little while later. So perhaps if you wanted to, I think, like was suggested here, like wrap up sort of the Jedi, complete those stories, I think that would be fine because you get that closure. But to carry on further, I don't really find it to be like all that necessary. If you've ever dipped your toes in the Legends waters, I think there's so much to enjoy. When Best allegory I ever heard was from Choco, actually. The highs are high, but the lows are low. It's really like either or on the barometer there. So
it's a really mixed bag for sure.
It really is. So Legends was produced at a time where
That's why I like my canon just
in the middle. I would rather have it be like a baseline level of quality where it's kind of there. I think Legends, we got to know like the history of the publishing, was produced at a time where they just wanted content out. You know, there wasn't really any cohesion. They were like, are you a good author? Yeah, I want you to write a book about this. Are you a good author? Yeah, I want you to write this book. And if you try to string it together, this one book, you'll learn one fact, 10 books contradict it, and so on and so forth. It's like a Titanic kind of situation where it's almost its ambition and its sheer scope doomed it to fail in the long run. So I think salvaging what we can, taking it into canon and streamlining it, making it more accessible, kind of fine-tuning all the little quirks and era-specific like misogyny things, which there's a lot of misogyny in Legends if you want to dip your toes into it. But I think streamlining it for the modern era is the best way to do it. And, you know, if the KOTOR remake, like Connor said, if the KOTOR remake's canon, great. That's awesome. That would be a great way to bring it back. You got the hype of having all the old content brought back, streamlining it for the new generation. I think that would be awesome. I think it's important to kind of accept what is, but what could be, you know, the potential of having all these characters. Like, look at Jackson the Green Rabbit from Legends, who was a very silly character, is now the star of every Star Wars annual that comes out nowadays. And I think there's a lot of potential for growth for Legends. So as someone who grew up in Legends, who read Wikipedia articles until the sun rose, I think it's time to let the past die, but to not forget to bring it into the future.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I'm kind of like, so here's where I'm at with it. I find that a lot of the conversation around it is disingenuous, and it's not. So I love Legends, you know. I get accused of not, but I think my current count is 138 Legends books that I've read so far.
Yeah.
Wow. And I still enjoy reading them. And Jaina Solo is my favorite character in Star Wars. But I always get weirded out when like I have like a 15-year-old like telling me about Legends. And I'm just like, you know, don't cite the deep magic to me.
I was there when it was written.
I was there when it was written.
It's like I don't talk a lot about Legends on my channel because it brings in a lot of toxicity, and I don't understand why. And here's, you know, so you don't feel like the outsider on this tape. Here's my hot take on it.
All right.
There's a comment I get where people say Legends is canon to me. And while I appreciate and can understand the sentiment, that sentence is dumb. That's to me, that's like a vegan is eating a steak and you're like, you know, that's meat. And they're like, this is vegan to me. And you're like,
there we go. Okay. Yeah. Spicy chocolate takes. Let's go.
You know, I appreciate what it is, understand it, and I think that one of the problems is that the word canon has kind of been lumped in with the word important or good. And it
has such a weight to it that we can't really like sort of, you know, just break it down and realize that I don't know where I'm going with this. My train of thought, it was going somewhere and then it just derailed.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to initially. It's when you see something that is recognized on a level that Disney does stuff, right? Like which is a global level. And yes, there's a lot of bad things that Disney does, but when you see that in storytelling, something that is an organization, rather than what can be perceived as fan fiction or anything else, but when you see like the accredited organization put something out, it gives weight to that recognition of we see this as an organization. We see this culturally. This is important to us culturally in this storytelling. And it somewhat feels like it can lift it out of what people were doing for centuries, which was writing themselves into fan fiction so that they finally got to see themselves in the stories that they love. So when you see someone else do that with the magnitude that Disney can do,
Yep.
I
And
feel like
Lucasfilm,
it
yeah.
lifts that up and makes it feel like it's more important.
Yeah.
I can't speak for other people, but that's what
No,
I feel
that's,
like that's what that.
Yeah,
I think
nail on
that's
the
kind of
head.
what I was trying to get at. Like, just what Lucasfilm has put out ever since 2014, 2015 has just been incredible amounts of content that we've gotten. Mainly publishing wise. Like, I did not realize how many comics and books were published until I started to get back into them. And I started getting into them like 3 years ago.
Because I'm caught up, which means I just read when something new comes out. You know what I mean?
I'm
And
not
so,
caught
like,
up, especially
Ooh,
on the
Must be
books.
nice.
I fear falling behind because I know how daunting. I'm behind on comics. I will say that. You know, my dad, Element 7, up to date on the comics, and it's I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. I think one of the big things as well is that for some Legends fans, they feel like something was taken away from them. But the understanding was always that it was never canon. You know, these were stories, and they've said this, and they've released a reader's companion to explain the Legends. You know, prior to Disney buying it, that specifically says that, and so I think it's part of it is also misplaced, like, sadness, I guess, because of that statement. You know, you have authors like Karen Travis, who's beloved in the community because, you know, she took Republic Commando, right, Delta Squad, and wrote books on them and was continuing this whole thing. But George Lucas was also creating the Clone Wars, and they hit a point where what he was going to do on Clone Wars did not agree with what she was going to do, and so she very publicly was like, nope, I'm out, done. And I don't know, like, it's always been a thing. I love both, and I just like when I get the comment of, oh, I hate the High Republic because I'm a fan of the Old Republic, and, you know, that's like saying, you want some pizza? Oh, I don't want pizza because I like hamburgers. And you're like, they're two different. That's not related, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things for, like, Legends fans is, like, for the KOTOR remake, it gives them something that Disney, like, sees them and appreciates them and recognizes that they're there. Because a lot of times I feel like fans, like you said, they feel forgotten and, like, sad because their Star Wars, like, that they grew up with is no longer, like, considered canon, even though the stories are still there and the characters are still there to love. But, like, recognizing that Disney is now remaking a beloved game for 20 years gives them kind of something like, oh, like Disney's, like, looking out for us and recognizes that we are still fans of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those weird things that, like, and Chaka, you kind of said it, is it's a false binary, and we do it with so many things that aren't just Star Wars. But it's not. People try to set it up as it's either this or that, whether it's politics, whether it's anything. Like, it's either this or it's this. And the reality is, a lot of times it's yes and, right. It's both. It can be either. It's not one of those things that has to be a pick of one or the other. It can be multiple things that can be true in the same sentence or in the same breath.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think the movie Logan is better in quality than anything the MCU has done. But
Yeah.
but that Wolverine is not canon to the MCU universe, so you don't have to include it in your MCU watch through to get caught up for Eternals. That's how I see it. It's a great movie. It's not part of this story, and that's okay. You know, like,
Yeah.
all right. So, moving on, I gotta ask, favorite book. We're gonna do what's your favorite, and I know not all of you've read a lot or much Legends, but favorite book overall, Legends and canon, if you got both. Worst book. And we'll just do those two for now. And I'll start with Sunshine here.
Oh, man, two books. I'm gonna do two books that I really loved. Light of the Jedi I thought was phenomenal. I think that was a great. That came out so early in the year that it was one of the first things I got to read, and that was a great way to start this run. Especially like the first 2/3 of that book are just absolutely just perfect. I think
The first like
real
4
solid.
chapters scared the heck out of me because it
The amount of times I audibly yelled, like I was like doing a puzzle, and then like a chapter would end in the way that it does at that book, and I would like slam my hand on the table and like be like, "What? Thanks for connecting me to all these wonderful people," and then
thanks,
you know,
Charles.
Getting punched in the gut over and over again.
right,
Classic Charles Soule
And then
move.
I would say one of the classic Charles. One of and then one of the ones the biggest surprise to me, A New Dawn, the Rebels book, I thought was beautiful. I thought Count Vidian was an excellent villain. There were moments of brutality in that book that were very surprising to me to happen.
Oh yeah, he was a monster.
But also, I think one of my favorite lines in Star Wars comes from that book. And there's a moment, and I've read it so long ago, I honestly don't even remember the character's name who said it. But there's a line, something akin to, maybe it's time for people to be their own Jedi now. And I thought that was just such a beautiful sentiment and a beautiful moment in that book. I loved it. So I think those two are probably two of my favorite books that I've read so far, which has been a lot. Least favorite,
Real quick, shout out to Ray Sloan in that young Ray Sloan in
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved seeing her. But yeah, go ahead.
least favorite, Lords of the Sith. Is that the
Sith.
bug battles in the woods?
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately.
I didn't love that one. Was not a big fan of that one. I also, no one yell at me. I didn't love Dark Disciple as much as I wanted to.
Okay.
Which I know.
I haven't read it
That's
yet,
a sentiment
so I
that a
can't
lot
say
of people
anything.
are going to disagree with. I hated the ending of that. So it was one that I was like riding fine with the entire time, but then kind of the last third I was mad at. But that doesn't mean the people who love it are wrong. That just means that that's how it made me feel, right? So, but I would love to talk more about that ending at some point because I've got thoughts. But yeah, that's me. Those are the things I did.
I love it, man. And I find Lords of the Sith to be such a polarizing book. Like, I talk to people and they're either like, "Have you read it?" Like, "Oh my goodness, have you read it yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, neutral face, yeah."
Sure, yeah.
What do you think, Tate?
I have a little bit of experience with both Legends and Canon, so I'll start off with my favorite and least favorite from Legends. Favorite's probably the Bane Trilogy. I just think it's such a fantastic kind of spin on the hero's journey. We're not even following the hero, but he followed Dessel, who eventually becomes Darth Bane, follows so many of the similar beats. A kid from a deserty, dusty planet kind of comes across a chance for greatness, and he becomes one of the most powerful warmongering figures in the Sith, a defining character in that mythology. It's just such a compelling read as well. Also, I read it when I was 14 and Darth Revan got mentioned, and since I was 14, I went ballistic. So that probably factors into my enjoyment of that book quite a bit. Least favorite Legend story. The second someone asked me that question, I always respond with, "How much time do you have?" Because you could honestly go on and on with that. But I'd say Crystal Star is infamously known for being one of the worst Star Wars novels ever written. One reason is Waru, the giant gold waffle blob that eats Luke and Leia. And then there's... yeah, I said that sentence. I'm not proud. I'm not proud that I said that sentence, but here we go. And then also, who could forget classics like Glove of Darth Vader, which introduced Trioculus, aka the three-eyed potential son of Palpatine, who kidnaps Leia and tries to get her to marry him, and then Han kidnaps her back, and it's a game of tug and war. Yeah, Legends is crazy. They're definitely those two. Every time they get brought up, my face is just like, I'm not having
I
a
have
good time.
I have a friend who does a podcast, and he his big thing is the fact that he talks about the Jedi Prince series, and
Oh,
I think
God.
I'll text you
Please.
what his podcast is after the show, because I think you'll enjoy it.
Every time I hear the word Trioculus, I could cry. It's not even... It's
Like his profile, I'll tell you his Twitter, his profile picture is of Triclops.
Oh, God. You see, I'm so happy for Alex because he's like, I have no Legends experience. I'm like, that sounds perfect because you don't have to see this dude with an eye smack in the middle of his forehead, like toting a gun around. It sounds crazy.
Just sitting over here with a big grin on my face, like a big dum-dum, just like, I don't know any of this.
Yeah, exactly. Lucky.
Good, you're better off for it.
There's nothing wrong with that. How about you, Connor?
Oh,
Wait, hold on, just before. My Canon ones as well. Just before. I know. I'm gonna have a nice different pick for the Canon ones because I like details. I like Easter eggs. I love underdogs. So my favorite Canon book is actually from a certain point of view, specifically the first one. I love that book so much. My favorite scene in Star Wars is the cantina scene from a production and a filmmaking level, just to like a narrative level as well. Seeing all those characters there in that room, I love it. And the fact that there's a book that I can read to the point that I know what every single person in the cantina is doing at that specific point in time, from people betting that their like entire life savings that Greedo is going to kill Han, to the little Cabe, the little Chadrafan who's like living with his alcoholic buddy in like the sewers under the cantina. I know everything about that like little that story, and I love books like that. I love books that kind of take us through that story but from a different perspective.
Have you read Canto Bite?
I read Cancer Bite. I quite like Cancer Bite. The characters aren't like as memorable because I think they were just like new and fresh, and I think one of them was cut. Like the one character in Cancer Bite is the giant balloon alien that screams. So it's not like the most memorable of it, but I do think it's really like some of the stories there are quite funny. But yeah, stories like that is just awesome. Like the stormtrooper who bumped his head on the Death Star is the same one that Obi-Wan mind tricked. So he was tired and he got fatigued. Like that makes sense. That's awesome.
Oh wow, that's actually really freaking cool.
Right. So just seeing stuff like that.
Thrawn talk came out of that as well. So.
Oh yeah, Thrawn TikTok.
Not Thrawn talk. Tarkin talk.
Tarkin talk. Yeah, that's true. I was doing research for a video and I was like, all right, let's like try cover every one of those stories. And I'm like, oh, Tarkin's gay? I'm like, oh, thank you from a certain point of view. I did not know that you had a hot tub in your private quarters that you invited stormtroopers to. That's really cool. Thank you, book. But yeah, like stuff like that, it just tickles my fancy. And I think the Empire Strikes Back one is not as good as the first one, but it's also really just such an enjoyable read. Least favorite canon books, I don't like to think that there's a outright bad canon story. There are some less enjoyable ones. I don't think anyone remembers Heir to the Jedi that much.
Yeah, that was the one on my mind.
Heir to the Jedi is just not like it feels like a prank.
I just finished Heir to the Jedi recently.
What are your thoughts?
Okay, here's
I can see your thought is I was tired.
Heir to the Jedi, I think, started as one of my favorite books in canon. I loved all, and I hope I'm remembering this correctly because it's hear me out. I love horror stories and I love Alien. It's one of my favorite sci-fi horror movies. The front portion of Heir to the Jedi, which is very alien, very like people are dying.
Oh, he froze.
Oh no!
Communications disruption.
Oh, no. Into the Jedi slander. This is what happens. No,
forget about
Kevin Hart is in this live stream. In this live stream now.
That can only mean one thing.
Oh dear.
Invasion.
Yeah, I haven't read that yet, and I don't think I.
Don't read that one.
Yeah.
Twilight Company as well. You could give Twilight Company the skip.
The funny thing is with Heir to the Jedi, it was gonna be Legends.
Good.
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Legends, but then it was something about just when it was gonna get released, it was able to just nudge itself into the canon timeline.
It's such a bizarre book, dude.
So both Heir to the Jedi and Weapon of the Jedi are not up there for me.
Yeah.
It.
I mean, also not to mention just quickly, Heir to the Jedi, one of the first female characters of color in the new canon, gets fridged like halfway through the book, which is a bit like problematic in my opinion. Like Nakari Kellen is such a phenomenal character, and then they're like, "Oh, Luke's falling in love with her. Great, kill her off to make Luke sad." I'm like, that's a bit. I don't know. That's an eyebrow raiser for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, you got cut off.
They came for you, bro. They came.
As soon as I started talking that Heir of the Jedi had good parts, they sliced the seed. I loved the first third of that book, and then they do nothing with it on the back half, and I think that was it got very boring very fast towards the on the back side of that, and I thought it had so much potential, and now I really want like a full on horror story in Star Wars somewhere that's like rated R, either movie or like comic book series. There's something that is like very much Halloween terrifying. I would love it. I want that story.
You read Tales of Vader's Castle yet? Yeah, Tales of the Castle Vader.
I have, and I did. Yes, I did. I've read both because the new one's coming out, right? Ghost of Vader's Castle is the next one. And it's fun because those have a tie-in to the like Young Reader Wild Space books for those who haven't read those.
Those are great.
Which is also pretty cool. And so that was always fun. I like that was a thing. I would love to see like a full-on either television series or like movie, or even like a longer comic run than those specifically. But I did love that a lot of those were like homage to classic horror films. The fact that there's like an Ewok Wicker Man to me was like, it just made me think that Nick Cage now also needs to be in Star Wars somewhere.
Absolutely.
Nicolas Cage is like a coin toss. It's either incredible or just like, we're doing this. Okay, that's a swing and a miss. He swings for the fences every single time, and I gotta give it to him. Also, everyone in the chat, and some people already are, but please share your tops, your highs and your lows from both Legends and Canon. Mr. Who was I doing next? Well, it went to Connor next, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So for Legends, I've only read 4 books up to this point, going on 5. The 4 books I've read, and I said this in the pre-show, but it was, I can't remember the Vader story, but the Obi-Wan story was the life and legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think they were like connected. I got them in this like really cool dual box set from like the Scholastic Book Fair, I think, when I was in elementary school. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. Or I think it had to do with Luke Skywalker. I can't really remember. I don't think I have them anymore. Actually, I probably do. I just haven't read them in forever. So those were 2. And then I read Death Troopers. So zombies in Star Wars. I mean, like, as a 14-year-old kid, that was like the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then hopefully some people know this one. Star Wars Cross Currents.
Oh, yeah.
It was a time travel book, and it was wild, and I don't remember anything about it. So, but the 5th book I'm reading right now is the Bane Trilogy, and I'm a bit more than halfway through the 1st book, and I can already tell it's going to become my favorite Legends book so far. So I have to go. So for my favorite Legends book, I got to go with the first Bane book. My least favorite, I have a small sample size, so I legitimately don't know. For Canon, I'm going to give a top 3 here. Because right now, I have it as Lords of the Sith. But I think that was mainly because of just all the really cool Vader and Palpatine parts. And they kind of weren't... I mean, as far as from what I can remember in that book, they didn't take up too much of it, which is kind of sad. But
I will say, though, Vader ejecting from his ship through space, landing in a broken airlock, cutting through the door, picking up a comlink and just breathing into it was so extra, but it was just badass.
That's
so on
and it was
brand.
like,
That's so metal.
But sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. My other two would probably have to be Into the Dark, and this good boy, and this bad baby right here, Dooku Jedi Lost.
There we go.
I haven't read Master and Apprentice yet. I do have it. It's in another state. Most of my books are in another state, which sucks because I asked for like 7 last Christmas. So those would be my 3 right now, and just it's going to expand as I read more of the Star Wars books because, unlike you, Chaco, I'm so behind on the books. Comics, I'm doing pretty decent. Books, I'm drowning. It's over. But least favorite, I don't know. I'm not really sure actually. So
just say Heir to the Jedi. Just say Heir to the Jedi.
I'll probably just say Heir to the Jedi.
There we go. Easy peasy.
All right, done.
How about you, Mr. Fahey?
Yeah. So, like I said, I haven't dove deep into Legends, but Bane, Path of Destruction is also my favorite Legends book. Just like the dark side is so intriguing to me, and we don't get enough of it in canon. I think just solely focused on the dark side, and just his path of destruction is incredible, in the way that he goes from like the army of the Sith to just the rule of 2 is incredible to me. And I haven't really read any bad Legends books just because I've read the Bane Trilogy and Plagueis. But for my favorite canon book, I have to go with The Rising Storm. I love the High Republic so much. It's like my favorite era right now, and
it's so good.
It's so good, and it's also so painful.
It is.
Yeah, true. Very true.
The
Did
High
you
Republic
see what is coming
on
out?
Twitter.
Yeah. Oh,
Just-
Yeah.
dude,
I
you
love
can't
it.
look at those panels.
They are-
Like, it's
They kill us.
Freaking DJO, man.
Yeah, I
do
that
have
one.
one.
Freaking Kevin Scott, like Kevin's paying for my therapy bill. My therapy
Yeah,
bill
exactly.
by the end of this.
But no, I'm a huge Elzar Mann fan.
Yeah.
He was a huge part of that story, and just the
Oh,
conflict
God,
that
he
he
was
goes
great.
through is so it's because I love like the struggle between light side and dark side. That's my thing. That's what I love about the Force, and he goes through it tough, and he has to make tough decisions that impact a lot of people, and he has to face the repercussions, which is something I love in the High Republic. Is they recognize that there is darkness, and they have to face it, and they have to just kind of deal with it, not just kind of shun away from it.
Yeah.
And that book goes super into detail about the dark side and how the Jedi struggle with it, and I love it.
Yeah, I got to reread that book. I know there's a scene specifically that I love from that book. It's when Elzar just literally just says, "I need help."
Exactly.
And I'm just like, that's freaking huge. Because like, if you did that in the prequels, they would just shun you, and B, you wouldn't have felt in the prequels. You probably wouldn't have felt as not confident, but like open to just say like, "Hey, I need help extinguishing my darkness."
Yeah.
So, like,
well, in Dooku Jedi Lost, there's the Jedi who has like a child, and they don't feel comfortable admitting it, just because of the environment, and they don't feel safe, and something can happen.
What did Yoda tell her?
Exactly. Yeah. We would have
Come
helped.
to me.
Safe
We would have
it is.
helped you.
Do y'all know how short Star Wars would be if they just had therapy in Star Wars?
They do. They have. I'm pretty sure in the High Republic they have like trauma therapists.
Therapy.
Oh yeah, dude. High Republic
Yeah.
is literally therapy in Star Wars. Like, people always ask me a what if of like, what if Anakin was part of the High Republic, or like, what if
He would just be Elzar Mann.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly.
But people always ask me, I don't know if this is something that you guys get asked too, but they would be like, "Oh, do you think Anakin would turn to the dark side in the High Republic?" And my answer is just no. Just no explanation needed. Just read the High
Anakin really would
Republic.
have benefited from someone just being like, "Hey, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Do you want to chat about this?"
Yeah, Avar Chris would have just been like,
Tell me about your day.
"Yo, you good, fam?"
Elzar Mann is the guy I want to play D&D with because I feel like he's like, I choose to seduce the dragon. You're like,
Dude, I just want to
it's a
want to
bold
hang out
move,
with
okay.
all of them.
Yeah. Elzar's constantly just
Give me
shooting
a
shots.
night out on the town with Geode. That's who I want to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Geo the goat.
let's go clubbing, Geode.
Yep. Dude, I want to see a from a certain point of view story in the High Republic, and it's just Geode clubbing. What's that all about?
I believe Geode's the focus of the High Republic Adventures Annual. It's a Geode story. So, I mean,
Ooh.
I can't, I'm not up to date on Adventures, but I know he appears in it, and I want to see how he moves. Because I know the running gag in Into the Dark is that you never see him move, he just like appears behind you. I want to see him move on a panel. Visual confirmation that this rock man can move.
It'll never happen.
No, it's that gag I think is continuing. I'll have to reread
because that's the whole. That's the nice part about comics, right? Is it just he's in one panel and then he's in another panel.
It's just I want to see motion. I want to see sound effects. Onomatopoeia. Come on.
That moment.
Draw me some lines. Draw me some.
Yeah.
That moment when Reith walks into like the kitchen and Geode's there and he's like, how is this like?
He's all of us.
Dude, the moment in Into the Dark where Geode saves Reith. Like if that was in a comic or in a movie, I would have lost my shit. I mean, I basically did lose my shit when reading it. Like I literally put the book down. I was like, "What? What just happened?"
Like a rock. Let's see. I have Brooke in the chat saying she has an Audible credit, so this is giving her some insight.
Dooku Jedi Lost.
Dooku Jedi Lost.
Go with that. It has a full cast audiobook, and you don't have to listen to one narrator voice 40 different characters.
Waste your credit on just the first third of Heir to the Jedi.
Just stop it once you get past the certain point.
Yeah, there's a certain chapter. Just stop it there.
Let's see here. Space Jam is not a big fan of Force Unleashed. I enjoyed playing through the video games, but I agree it should stay away from.
I heard the novel is more.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like contained in terms of like what Starkiller's power actually is.
Yeah, it is. And also you get more like character stuff because he's a self-insert character, so he's pretty bland when you play the game, but. There's a little bit more to his inner workings in the book. Element 7 says, for Canon, Rising Storm is a favorite, but no worst. And Legends, Fatal Alliance is his favorite. Dawn of the Jedi is the worst. Dawn of the Jedi, actually, truthfully, I had a hard time getting through that book. It's not quite there for me, but still. Julie Christine, as a literary expert, she's amazing. The Odyssey of Star Wars is incredible. It just came out with that, so that's really cool. That Boy Steve, Master and Apprentice, favorite canon. Favorite Legends is Ronin.
That is true. This is true.
Yeah.
The new one, the new novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I gotta pick that up.
Is it not dangerous to call it Legends? Because I guess Legends is that timeline of events from 1977 Splinter the Mind's Eye to 2014 April. That's
Legends is everything that's not canon. Legends contradicts itself a lot, and it always has.
Yeah,
it always has. But yeah, Joy Christine is also shouting out the Padme books that are excellent. Fern is not here in the chat, but she would be talking about anything that was. Part of the Jedi Apprentice series, so I just gotta shout that out. Yeah, Julie Christine just mentioned that. Cameron Roberts thought Heir was good. It shows Luke at a low point, aside that we saw in The Last Jedi. Yeah, so I love that we have like so many different like viewpoints. That it's the best. I just enjoy it.
I will say the best part of Heir to the Jedi is when Luke gets he gets that purple saber that Huluk used to have, and his family's like, here, take this saber, you'll need it. And Luke's like, oh, cool, how does this work? And he breaks it 5 seconds later, and it's just, and he's like, oh, well, I guess I can't use that now. I'm like, that's a classic Luke moment. That
I think
good.
there's like some
Trying to
artwork,
lift a cup.
Yeah.
like with Luke and the lady. I can't remember her name, but like it's just in this cool planet, in this cool looking planet. I'm pretty sure he has the purple saber, and I'm like, that's really cool. And I thought that was Legends for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then like someone was like, oh no, that's Heir to the Jedi artwork, and I'm like, oh, so it's from that book. That's a shame.
Yeah, I made a video about it. I was like, all the sabers Luke used, because he has the yellow saber in the current Soul run, and in Star Wars Annual 4 he has a crossguard red saber that he uses for like 2 seconds. And someone's like, well, he uses a purple saber in Heir to the Jedi. I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know that, because no one likes Heir to the Jedi. I forgot about that. But, like, thank you.
So for me, favorite is probably Rising Storm from Canon. But there's a lot of really high ones. Favorite Legends, it jumps around a bit, but the novelization of Revenge of the Sith is so good.
Yeah.
If you have not read it, please read it.
I should.
It amplifies the film times 3. Roughly times 3. But like, if you like the movie, that's times 3 more. If you don't like it, it's 3 times better. Like, so yeah, highly recommend. Also, quick shout out to Allegiance. The book Allegiance. It's about like imagine a bunch of stormtroopers, but they're from a local garrison. Like, this is their home planet, and like, the really bad stormtroopers are usually ones that are traveling from place to place, and they get conscripted to go with these others, and they end up defecting. Like, he gets this. It's actually a little bit similar to Finn's story, where they're supposed to execute like these people, and they just won't do it. And after they get conscripted, this ISB agent is like laying into them because they didn't do it, and then they end up fighting and wrestling, and then a knife appears. He ends up killing the ISB agent, and so now they're on the run, but they're still stormtroopers. So they go around doing good deeds as stormtroopers, but they're defected from the Empire. It's an interesting story that I just really enjoy. Plus, everything Janisol I love, but I can't recommend it because one of the reasons there's so much love for Legends is there's so much content, right? There's over 40 books with Jaina Solo in them. She's an amazing character. Not all of those books are good books or good stories, but when you zoom out, amazing. But like, each one, I don't know. As far as the worst, the thing that always comes to my mind is watching Luke fall in love with a computer program. And then downloading that into his friend's brain. So there was a Jedi from before the prequel era named Callista, and in a weird way, she ended up with her consciousness put inside of a computer. Luke meets this consciousness, falls in love with it, and Luke has a friend who's a female Jedi. They are not involved. Long story short, he downloads Callista's consciousness into this one's body, and then they start banging. And you're like,
that's hella problematic.
How do we get
I have also seen Joaquin Phoenix in Her.
I just have so many questions. Number one, what the heck?
Man, I only have one question. That's why. Why?
That was my second question. Why? Like,
oh my days.
It's made so much weirder by the fact that this was someone that he's known for years, and it's just like, now this person's brain is in it. And I don't know. It's
Legends moment.
There's a lot of
Wow.
weird stuff. I also don't like to use on wrong. I think they're disgusting and they are creepy and gross. So yeah. Huh. Cal says, "Whoa, echo. Is there? Are we? Am I echoing? Because if I am, let me know."
Not really.
Nope.
Um, Elwood says, "I'd like to amend my worst from Dawn of the Jedi to this one." Let's see here. So it sounds like there is an audio echo, and I don't know where it might be coming from, but let me try something real quick.
So this means the Empire's invading.
Again, they have it out for us.
Yep.
Yeah, most likely. But yeah, let me know if it is continuing right now. But
Nope.
moving on, I think we got them all. We got you guys all. So I gotta ask. All right. So what is the best series? Right, taken as a series. Sometimes you have like. Oh, it says the others and not me.
Oh.
Hmm.
Everyone sounds fine on my end. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Everyone sounds really good. No echoing. So.
I mean, you say Echo, I think Bad Batch, that's the one.
Yeah.
Is there an echo in here?
Oh. Looks at the camera, the office style.
Like really?
All right. So this is another test. How's that sound for everyone? Did that echo stop? Can someone else say something?
Echo. I don't know.
Echo.
Hello.
I'm pretty sure that'll do it.
There we go.
Hopefully. But moving on. All right, best series, and who needs a series? And I am going to go to. I don't recall who I went to last time, so I will start with Tate.
Oh, this is a tough one. But by like series, do you mean like a set of books, or can it be like a series of graphic novels, or like what's your criteria for this? Because if you think about it, in canon, we don't really have like a lot of set series that like continue. We have the Aftermath trilogy, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't
we have
call that.
Aftermath and Alphabet Squadron. That's about it, I think.
I wouldn't call Aftermath Squadron like best by any means, but I say best series. Can I plug High Republic? Because I know those books that's like a multimedia project, but honestly, the amount of effort and energy that goes into keeping those as one coherent narrative, even across like mediums, like you see characters popping up between books and they feel flawlessly integrated. I know I read an interview where Cavan Scott and Claudia Gray said they collaborated for hours just to make sure that when Orla like popped up in Cavan's comics, that it was like 1-1, like nothing changed. I think just from my perspective, I'm the canon guy. I like it when things weave and end up in sync. So seeing that series and how like flawless it is, how it's like one singular narrative, almost like a prism, looking into it, you get different perspectives, but it's the one thing. I think that honestly makes it the best. But again, my definition of a series might not be up to scratch, so correct me if I'm wrong there.
Oh, I will let my guests interpret the question however they see fit.
Awesome.
But yeah, Mr. Fahey.
Yeah, so I also love the High Republic, but I'll go with the From a Certain Point of View series that Tate touched on earlier, but the fact that you can go through an entire movie from a different perspective and just see all of these characters, they have their own stories, and that's one of the things that I love about Star Wars is like everybody comes from somewhere and they have their own story. So next time you're watching Empire, you'll see a background character like, oh my God, that is the person that I read about in this From a Certain Point of View book. And I'm super excited for the next one that comes out. And it's just the detail of Star Wars that's so incredible, and it's consistent throughout almost everything. And I just think those Certain Point of View books just really emphasize that.
Yeah. Oh, we got a Wilbur Hood story. We now know his background and
exactly.
what he was doing. We also know that the Dianoga is force sensitive and that was weird.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
I got a video coming up about Omi. Omi is her name, but
The Dianoga, that was also it got wild, but it's all good. Um, also, Mr. Fahey, who do you think needs a series? And I'll come back to you at the end, Tate, for your answer.
All right.
But
I would say, once again, my guy Hondo. I absolutely adore him, and I think tales from him when we last see him in Clone Wars to when we see him in Rebels, what he's doing, I think a series of books would be perfect for that. Just like Hondo is so enjoyable as a character to me that I just want to see him be funny and be a pirate in the galaxy at that point.
oh man, like okay, so now I want a Hondo series that like, but each book is set like 10 years in the future. You know, like because I feel like I low key think Hondo is immortal. But I feel like it'd be
Fair enough.
like watching his rise to power, and then as a pirate, lord, and then beyond that, like doing his own thing, like thinking about his old days with Obi-Wan Kenobi and fully believing they were best friends.
Yeah.
I'll give you an elevator pitch quickly. Canonically speaking, after Return of the Jedi, he writes an autobiography called The Book of Hondo, which encapsulates every adventure he's ever been on. So literally just call the book The Book of Hondo, like chapter 1, Hondo and like the sea whales or whatever, and just run with it from there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm into that
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Sunshine?
I think for me, favorite series, the Charles Soule Vader novel run, or Vader comic run, I think was to me some of the most interesting Star Wars content. And so I loved everything from the Burning Seas to Darth Momin. I thought was one of the most interesting Star Wars characters I've experienced. So I loved every bit of that. So if I had to pick like a quote unquote series, that's probably what it would be. Totally worth checking out if you haven't done it. As for characters I'd love to see a series for, either Hondo or Embo. I would love to see more Embo content.
Yeah.
I think that would be a blast to have just a fun action adventure. I would be so for it. But also with Holdo, I would just love to see that coming of age story because she's interesting in the Leia novels. She's interesting in like the one Leia comic that we get of her. I love her in The Last Jedi, so I would love to see just the life and times. I think that would be an excellent story as well.
All right, so you now have me like writing essentially John Wick, but it's Embo.
That'd be cool.
Awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Someone stole his hat.
Oh. Someone killed his dog. Someone killed his dog.
Don't say that. How about you, Connor?
So for best book series, I'm gonna go with the comic. Okay, so I have 3 answers. I don't have just one when it comes to Star Wars most of the time. And I didn't really think about the High. I should have also thought about the High Republic, so that's a good one. So I'll go with the High Republic, 2017 Vader, because that was really the first comic canon series I read, and I was like, ooh, this was good. And over the summer, I continued my read through of the 2015 main Star Wars run, and I got to put that on the list too because that really just enriched a lot of what I really liked about the original trilogy, and it really, really made me resonate with Leia, especially her whole arc as a rebellion leader. And just like how far she's willing to go to win this war for the rebellion and how far she's not willing to go. So that was just really cool. As for who needs a book series, I'm going to say for the first, I have 2 answers again. For the first one, I wouldn't mind not seeing a series, but at least just a novel. I wouldn't mind seeing some story about Yoda on Dagobah because like we have a 19-year gap. So like I wouldn't mind seeing like sort of a deep dive into what he's doing, how he sort of wrestles with the failure of the Order and his failure to stop Palpatine, and just Howie starts to go cuckoo. But like in terms of a character that just I would love to have a book series for, Alyssa Korra easily. She has like very, very little canon content, and just she was my first ever Star Wars crush, and she's just also a really Jedi. So it's like I would love to see more of her character within canon in like a book series or comic series or something. So
I love it. And real quick, we got that boy Steve who says, let me change the scene here so it works. There we go. That boy Steve says Quinlan Vos needs a series. We haven't heard from dude since Dark Disciple. I fully agree with that. I love it.
Another one. The Padawans from the Gathering arc.
Like being buried after
a gungeon story for sure.
No. Don't you put this on me. No. They all made it out alive, okay?
They did?
They all made
it. Cal Forrest says, I'm still hungry for that Dex's Diner show you've pitched.
Yeah.
I always pitch this. Dexter's Diner, like Dexter clearly knows some stuff. He's seen some stuff. I fully believe he's in the witness protection program for Star Wars, and he's chosen to just like run this diner. But like, I need a story where, because it's also kind of like Denny's, where like if you go there at like 3 a.m., there's all these weird people, and they all have their own stories. I would love it where you can get these random people's stories kind of being told through the eyes of Dex's Diner. But there's also like gangsters running in the neighborhood and stuff that he has to protect and all this good stuff. So I don't know, I just see a lot of potential that I just want more of. It looks like Tate's having some internet troubles, but no worries. I got Luke here saying General Grievous hands down. Yeah, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, it's another one.
I want his backstory on how he like became. Imagine like just this warrior who every time he gets to the top of whatever, there's still people above him, and he just like can't compete and has to start augmenting himself and then loses himself in the process. I think that'd be really cool. Mm-hmm. Nidrix TT says Porter Angle, the Blade of Bardata.
Yeah, we need to see how he becomes the Blade of Bardata.
You know he's got some crazy stories.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I would not mind seeing more stories about the Jedi, about the High Republic Jedi Masters before the High Republic. Just
young Indira Stokes and stuff like that.
Yep, Avar Chris, all of them.
Ace Bronx wants to see a Yoda series.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, there is. I don't know, a lot of potential. I was gonna go back to Tate's to find out who he'd want to pitch, but I don't have that option currently. So. Oh,
wait, no,
there we go.
Back. Apologies,
awesome.
Sorry. What's the word? What's the term for? I had to use the refresher. There we go.
Okay. Happens. Real quick. I didn't get what your pitch would be for a series.
Oh shoot! I mean, Yaddle, Cloud, Bulio, Coleman, Trevor. Just the legends.
Yes.
I always think, if I ever got the opportunity to write a Star Wars story, like what would I do? And I think one of the ideas that I love in canon so much that I think really got wasted was Inferno Squad. I think the idea of Inferno Squad is brilliant. I think it's a genius idea. And I really don't think they got their due. I enjoyed the Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I think Janina Kavanko is such a talent as Iden Versio. She's one of my favorite female characters in Star Wars and characters in general, really. I would love to see a comic of sorts, maybe like Inferno Squad Battle Tales, or like a 3-part trilogy, or just stories to see what they were up to. Because I think the idea of Black Ops Imperials kind of going undercover is just such an awesome story potential that we never really see get developed. Because the big complaint of Battlefront 2 is by the time we got to them 3 missions later, they all defected except for Gideon. So something to explore that. Oh, Gideon's.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I feel that.
Saying the
completely.
name like brought bile.
Gideon Hask. I'm like, like clump in my throat. But yeah, I think Inferno Squad deserves some justice. I know there was so many rumors and ramblings about Iden in Rangers of the New Republic, which I think she would fit perfectly in. But even if
cool.
it would be perfect to have like all those characters come back. But yeah, Inferno Squad in the Imperial era, if you want to do Iden and Del during the New Republic era, anything with them I would really like to see because they're great characters.
Yeah, I would not mind seeing Janina Gavankar in live action Star Wars.
In
Just
anything.
give me that. Yeah.
Did you see her when she was at E3 or something and she was in like the full Iden costume? I'm like, she loves that character so much. She narrated the audiobook version of it. She deserves another shot in my opinion.
Oh, she was for a while. She would stream with Sam Witwer, and they would just talk Star Wars because they're such huge fans.
So cool, so cool.
Or just play Star Wars games. It was really cool. Cameron Roberts says Inferno Squad was sick. Rip Dreamers.
Great concept as well. The Dreamers.
Yeah,
really cool.
Okay, so with the two series that I immediately think of, I have mixed feelings about because Aftermath, I didn't love the first book, but well, for Mr. Bones is the best, but the first book overall I didn't love. After the first book, though, I really enjoyed it. Like Sinjir Rathvelas became one of my favorite characters, and like loved him. Alphabet Squadron. I liked the first book. The second book, I was like, meh. The third book was so good. Like, I don't know. Did any of you guys finish that?
I haven't even finished the first book.
I have a friend who's obsessed with Alphabet Squadron, and at least twice a week he nags me to start reading them. Because I think I said to you once, Choco, like pilot books don't like grab me as much, but I know they're phenomenal quality. I know. I see your face. I know.
The third book.
I know.
And I feel bad saying like, okay, read these two books. They're good.
But the third one, yeah.
The third one is so good, and it goes back and wraps up some Inferno Squadron stuff, and it wraps up some Aftermath stuff. Speaking of which, a book that doesn't get its due is Rebecca Roundhorse's Resistance Reborn.
Oh, that's a phenomenal book. Yeah.
If you read a lot of canon stuff and then read that book, but I don't recommend it because it ties in so many other canon books that like I feel like I'm not sure if you would understand the impact of certain moments in that book had you not read Bloodline, you know.
Yeah.
And like Shriv pops in there and like
Brock is a planet in there.
Yeah, they go to
Brock,
Brocken to get the ships and stuff like that. Like,
I freaked out. When I saw Poe Dameron goes to Broca. I was like, wow.
That's a sentence in Star Wars I never thought I would read, and
I love it.
It makes me happy.
Yeah.
So
I haven't read it yet. I'm just saying, but like that.
Question: Are all these books better than the first third of Heir to the Jedi? Because I'm not there yet. But I don't.
That's a good question.
If they don't hold up to the first third of Heir to the Jedi, I don't. Do I read them?
It's over.
You've set a high bar here, man. I don't know.
That's a high bar. I would say Duke of Jedi Lost is.
Yeah.
We didn't touch on it, but the Tempest Runner audio drama, which is again performed by so many other people, just came out recently, and it's all on Lorna D, and her journey, and it is also very good. So
very good.
Check that out.
I will. I just got to finish Out of the Shadows.
Cameron Roberts said, I've read Alphabet Squadron and Aftermath. Is currently on Shadowfall. Shadowfall, like I didn't finish it because I didn't like it that much. I wasn't into it.
I think I got spoiled on the twist.
Maybe. Well, okay, so that's the second book. Yeah, don't say it here. But I reread it to prepare for the third book, and I really liked it. The story of Lorna D is amazing, and if you've been listening to the audiobooks, it's just chef's kiss. A lot of great things being brought up here. If I am commissioning a series, um, I feel like you guys took all the good one. Oh, Brooke says BD1 and his pre-Cal adventures. That
Yes.
would
That's a good
be
one. Yeah.
interesting. I got
I am so down for that.
Fulcrum 506 Crimson Dawn series, definitely.
We'll get into
Crimson Rain coming out November.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that twist. I still can't believe that reveal.
Charles
It's
Soule,
just-
legend.
I was literally, I literally found that out the day of an interview, and I'm like, how can I focus after finding this out?
There's so much good stuff. That boy Steve says I would like a reasonably made Starkiller series. So I always get afraid of the concept. Like I said, I do love Legends. I don't think they should ever touch any Legends stuff because of the fan base. I don't know how there would be certain things that would need to change to fit it into canon, and I don't know how people would react to change.
I think we've seen a pretty good estimate of how they would react to change.
I mean, just look at the KOTOR remake that got announced, and everyone went ballistic because it's like, oh look, Darth Revan's there, and then the second they announced some of the writers' room, someone was like, oh, that's that one woman from the bad SJW game. Oh, KOTOR's ruined, guys. They're ruining KOTOR. So the metric there is like,
yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah.
Starkiller's like his fade isn't like faded enough, and it's like, oh, they ruined Starkiller. Oh. It's such a slippery slope. You almost don't want to give him the hand, but at the same time, it's like, come on, let's enjoy Star Wars together. Like,
yep. It's a bag of mixed nuts. For sure. All right. Well, let's see here. From what you've written, I think I already have a good idea. But as we start to wrap up here, what do you tell someone that wants to start reading? What do you recommend, and how do you get them started? So I'll ask that. I'll ask, what are you looking forward to in the future? And then if you can add any closing thoughts and where we can find you guys and all of your amazing content. And for this, I will go to Connor first.
Okay, so it says here in my notes, what do you tell someone who wants to start, and what do you recommend? In terms of reading Star Wars comics, I would have to go 2017 Vader, because it acts as a perfect standalone story, but it also connects both thematically and materially to just a lot of other canon material that, like, when you read in comic books, you'll see references to the Vader series, and you'll be like, oh, I remember that from issue 14 or whatever. So that would be comics. Books, honestly, I could just toss out a book and just have them start there, really. It's just it kind of depends on the era. I would probably ask them, like, all right, what's your favorite era? What are you most interested in? And if they're like prequels, I would go, I don't know what I would actually go, actually. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, books is harder for me. Because there's just so much, and like I'm so behind. But what am I looking forward to in the future? Yes. Yeah. Like, okay. But like, actually, I would go High Republic, because like that's what I'm pretty much prioritizing in terms of the publishing effort with Star Wars. So probably just everything High Republic, because it's incredible. Closing thoughts. Honestly, man, just thanks for having me on. This was a freaking blast.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for coming on. So for those of you that don't know, I went on it was Knights of the Nerd podcast. Right?
Yes, Knights of the Nerd Republic.
Knights of the Nerd Republic. So definitely check them out. And also real quick, is there anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, I got a pretty decent. I mean, I don't have that much, but yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Depa Banana, where I just talk Star Wars. That's pretty much my most active social media. You can find me on Instagram, which I don't really use that much, at ConmanJFO. I would plug my Facebook, but I recently deactivated it because I just don't have any use
Understandable.
for it anymore. You can find me on the Nerd Academy podcast, where we just talk all things nerdum, specifically our Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic, where we just talk anything and everything Star Wars. So news, interviews, roundup, all that kind of stuff. Topic episodes, just a lot of that. And then you can find me on StarWarsEditorIG.com, SWEditorIG.com, where I write articles and I tell some stories. And so the fan universe that's been created with it is a bit different than most fan universes people are probably invested in, because we abide by everything in canon and we don't just do something willy-nilly. Like we don't decide like, oh, we're just going to do a complete rewrite of the prequel trilogy just because we could. We abide by everything in canon and we just make sure that our stories line up with that. So
Okay, interesting. I will have to check that out.
yeah, we have some short stories published right now. It's pretty much multimedia right now. We have short stories. We're gonna have comics. We just have a lot of other stuff in the works, and it's really exciting.
Oh, also, Jared, who's been on the podcast before, would be very disappointed if I didn't mention Labyrinth of Evil.
Yes.
Legends book, Labyrinth of Evil. It's a story that leads up to Revenge of the Sith. It's the reason it ends with the sacking of Coruscant, where they take the Chancellor, and the whole plot is the Jedi were about to find out it was Palpatine, and so he calls them and he's like, "Can you guys come get me?" And that's the whole story. So, yeah, always have to bring that up. How about you, Sunshine? Same question, but also I have to ask, where are you in your canon challenge?
Great. So in the canon challenge, I am I'm middle of the Afra comics. So the Screaming Citadel is where I'm currently reading through.
Very Halloween.
So I just read the first issue of that little arc, and so I'm continuing through that. I've got to read faster. That's the key. That's what I've realized. Questions. I think where someone should start. First part of Heir to the Jedi is a great position to be. I think it depends. If you've seen the movies, I think, and you're just jumping into the novels for the first time, I think Claudia Gray's Lost Stars is probably a wonderful starting point. Just to get into the novelizations of the Star Wars universe, I think that's a great place to start. I also think Light of the Jedi or Into the Dark would both be great starting locations, because it's a very unique story that feels like Star Wars, but also just feels very sci-fi fantastic, like out there. And I think they got a lot of heart, and I love that. And so I think those would be great starting points from a novel side. Things you can find me on. Bending Not Breaking is a podcast where we go through every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra and pull out what life lessons we can use that are applicable to us outside of the universe. And so we're about to start recording our second season of Legend of Korra. So we've already gone through the entirety of Avatar. So check that out. We've had cast members from the show on. We've had therapists on the show. We have a range of guests that we've really enjoyed talking to and getting to know. And
hopefully you'll have a Chaco on.
I hope so. Yes. Let's talk Legend of Korra. It turns out season 2 is the least favorite season of Legend of Korra, and we were having we need more guests for that season. So no, we would love to have you on. So check that out, BNB_pod, but wherever you listen to podcasts, and so and then if you want to tag along, I've been work has gone off the rails, and so I've been posting less, but I've been trying to update in big broad swatches, and whenever I find out something that like Han Solo was married, that was I tend to lift those things up. But yeah, TikTok BNB_pod there. And so join along for the ride. If you want to start the Canon Challenge in 2022, I'm going to do it again. I'm kidding. I'm not doing it again.
Only if you want to torture yourself. Like,
no,
yeah.
It's so much.
Yeah, it's
I will never do it again. I will never do it again. But if you want to try, like, absolutely do that. So yeah, no. But thanks for having me on, Chaco. This has been fantastic. I appreciate the time and allowing me to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. What are you looking forward to?
This is a great question. Well done. I think for me, it is always beautiful to see people come into the fandom and have different moments that bring them into it. The fact that I get to go through some of this journey, not all of it, but my fiance started getting into Star Wars because of shows like The Mandalorian, and that allowed her to start a willingness to watch Rebels and a willingness to read some of the books. And I think that like more moments and more shows and more content that does that is fantastic. And so anything that allows people to join in on this in a way that feels right for them and that feels good, I think is a positive. And so anything that's more shows that are geared towards that. So I'm very excited for pretty much everything on the run. So I loved a lot of Visions for that same reason. Like it's really cool to see stories told in a way that speaks to the people getting to create them. And I think that's it's a joy to see people do that. Anytime we open our doors wider, we get better. So so I love that more content that comes out like that. I can't wait to see it. Like I'm a sucker for like the little girls going to Disney like dressed as Rey and like standing up to Kylo Ren or like meeting Rey for the first time. Like like those are the YouTube videos that like make me cry. So more moments like that I think I'm totally for.
Element 7 says you can always do a Legends continuity challenge.
No thank you. Not because it's bad. Like it's just I'm gonna take a break from being forced to do anything in order. I'm gonna watch the MCU out of order on purpose, just because I can at the end of this year.
Watch it backwards.
It's gonna be randomized, but
yeah, just watch it backwards.
I'm gonna watch it backwards. I'm gonna
just see what happens.
No. I'm sure like another 5 years I'll pick another weird challenge, but next year's challenge is going to be like the Fast and the Furious canon. Like that's what I'm going to do. 2022 Fast and the Furious canon. That's it. Yeah.
I appreciate it. So to quote Dio, no thank you. All right, and how about you, Tate?
The whole reason I started my TikTok is because of The Mandalorian season 2. Which is such a fun season to see, like all the players in play essentially. But there's so many people like Alex, who was like, who's Bo-Katan? What's the Darksaber? Cobb Vanth? Who's that dude? Timothy Oliphant? Like, it's a lot of questions and stuff. And I think kind of gearing people in like a nice, slow, steady way. Because, you could hand someone like the entire timeline of all the canon novels and you'll scare the daylights out of them and they'll never want to touch Star Wars again. But I think if you can ease people into the stories, it's really good. So my question is, if someone says, how do I get into Star Wars? I say, what do you like about Star Wars? If someone's like, well, I kind of like, I like the Jedi, I really like Obi-Wan and Anakin. I'll be like, well, there's a really short 5-issue comic about Obi-Wan and Anakin. I think you should read it because there's some cool moments. Or if someone says, oh, I kind of like, I like pilots and stuff. I'll be like, cool, Alphabet Squadron, you might enjoy that because there's a lot of pilots in there. So it's really what makes Star Wars tick for you that I would recommend. However, that being said, I must agree with Connor in that Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith, 2017 Charles Soule, is so good in quality that I would consider to be recommended reading for engaging with the saga. I think it resonates perfectly with Anakin's narrative. I think it ripples thematically throughout the franchise. The fact that it incorporates themes and ideologies from the sequel trilogy as well that kind of bleed in, I think it's beautiful. It sings, to quote George Lucas, it truly is like poetry. It does rhyme. I think that is honestly just the perfect starting point. Also, Darth Vader is like the epitome of cool. He's like the coolest dude in the world. Of course, you're going to read Darth Vader. So I think that's a perfect entry point for anyone that just casually wants to dip into it.
Well, but, you even get that nice little reunion of Anakin and Lee Char.
Yeah, exactly.
He helped put him on the throne, and
he helped get him in.
Things happen.
I
Go ahead.
will say,
Padawan Bar
yeah.
is my least favorite. Like I hate
Ah,
that character
Farron Boss
with
sucks.
every fiber of my being.
That's me with Pong Krell.
Farron
Oh,
Boss
wow.
is someone telling Charles Law, they're like, could you make Pong Krell but worse? And he's like, sure, here's Farron Bar. There
Farron
you go.
Bar I actually find to be like the anti-Pong Krell because like you can see where he's coming from, even though his intentions aren't super great. Pong Krell's just a dick. Like that's just
Riff
it.
Tampson.
Him
I
too.
loathe Riff Tampson. I want
Shark Boy.
if I'm gonna strangle his big old thick stupid shark neck. That's how I feel about Riff Tampson. But where can we find you and your awesome content, Tate?
You can find me on TikTok, Star Wars Fact Guy, FACT. At the moment, it's spooky season. It's October. I'm breaking down the weirdest, the strangest, the scariest things in Star Wars. Just recently, we did a video about the Bomom. Oh, we could. We'll get there. We'll get there. We recently did a video about the Bomom monks, the little spider droids crawling around Jabba's palace that are actually the disembodied brains of monks that wanted to meditate on the universe. And we've got so much cool content coming up, like the Dren gear, everything around the sun. So that's really cool to look forward to. When it comes to what I'm looking forward to, though, I mean, shoot, I will tell you, if you asked me last year, would I watch a Boba Fett show, I would have said no. I don't really care too much about the toy-selling figure man. But now I am 100% geared into Book of Boba Fett. Like, I don't think you could have come up with a more genius premise than Boba Fett becomes the kingpin of crime and he's out for revenge. I'm like, holy cow, that's the story that I'm willing to watch. Just seeing Temuera Morrison, 60 years old, going to be kicking ass. I think that's going to be incredible. Ming-Na Wen, Fennec Shan
in Star Wars is just a match
Ming-Na
made in
Wen.
heaven.
Fennec Shan is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. I think she's incredible. I think her aesthetic, her vibe, her attitude is just perfect. And Ming-Na Wen is 57 and she's kicking ass. Like, good lord, woman.
She doesn't even look 57.
She doesn't. She aged perfectly. But again, I won't sum too long. But yes, Book of Boba Fett I think is going to be incredible. I really wish it was coming out sooner because I just can't wait at this point. When it comes to expanded universe and novels, comics and stuff, Crimson Reign starts in November, 5-part miniseries about Kira during the original trilogy era. Blew my mind. I saw the front cover. I saw Kira. I saw Ren, and I saw TIE Defenders, and I think I screamed for like 5 minutes straight. So I cannot wait to see what's cooking in Charles Soule's brain. Beyond that, High Republic comics, Eye of the Storm, I think starts in January. The last time I was on this podcast, I said to Choco, I want to see a Martian Row story, and here we are with Martian Row miniseries. I can't wait to see what's up with him. And then my personal itch to scratch is just the Andor show. I'm a Rogue One nutter.
Yes.
I love Rogue One.
Yeah.
And with Andor, the second they said, oh, the old production team coming back, special effects guys coming back from Rogue One, makeup and design coming back. They're bringing back all the background aliens from Rogue One, so it's like a continuation of that aesthetic. But they've got characters like the one soldier Mulchi, he's coming back. They got Draven coming back. Mon Mothma's coming back. And then apparently rumored to have Bail Organa.
How did they get that new Mon Mothma that is the same person as the old one? Like, I don't know, that was weird.
It's so strange, but I love it,
The
man. That
costume
connective
design in
tissue.
Rogue One, just so good.
It's so good.
So freaking good.
Also, just holding out the fact that if we're really doing like early era rebellion stuff, that we'll see Enfys Nest in Andor. I really hope that's going to be the case.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'll be the perfect place to have her.
I would
I
not
think-
be surprised if Andor ties into Solo with the whole coaxium thing at the end.
At the end of the
When she
novelization.
gives it,
Yeah.
when she gives it to Saw, I wouldn't be surprised if Saw gives some of it to like the rebellion, and Andor is, the delivery man for that. But we'll see.
I would love to
Regardless,
see
I'm
that.
just excited for Andor too, man.
It's going to be
Maybe
cool.
a Cal Kestis appearance.
I
Connor,
hope not.
don't scare me like that, Connor, please. You know how I feel about cameos. One or two is fine, but I don't want to see like Yaddle and Mace Windu running around in Andor.
I just need his story to be told in the video game format, and then after his main story's finished, if he's still alive, he better be still alive, Respawn. do whatever with them.
Yeah, let him have his time first. But closing thoughts. Honestly, we've went on such an awesome nerd tirade about canon and legends and stories and what resonates and what doesn't. But the best advice I ever got recently from a friend, it really sounds like some bubblegum wrapper, fortune cookie stuff, but the true canon is in your heart. It really doesn't matter these guidelines that they give you about, oh, this is the timeline here, this is the timeline here. If you want to enjoy Star Wars in whatever way makes you happy, go ahead. My mom's friend has only seen The Mandalorian, and to her, that is Star Wars. Is The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda going on adventures. That's her whole world for Star Wars, and I think that's awesome. Whatever way you want to enjoy Star Wars, enjoy it your way. Otherwise, it's just not going to be fun. And if it's not fun, why bother? So enjoy Star Wars your way. True canons in your hearts, and thank you for having me on the podcast again, dude. It was an absolute blast.
Awesome, love it. More will come for sure. I'm
Absolutely.
already pre-booking you for Rogue One. You,
Yes,
Becca. We're gonna do Nicole, who's
M as well.
not here.
You got to get him. Yeah.
And M. Yeah. Also, I am hoping that for your spooky content, we're gonna see something about Fyzen Gore.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because
That's a good one.
That's the last Doctor you'd ever want to see is Fyzen Gore. I think it's worse than Dr. Evazan, personally. I'd rather see Dr. Nugo Vendi for a cough or whatever. But still, last but not least, Jedi Connor, Mr. Fahey.
Yeah. So a lot of you guys kind of said what I'm gonna say, but like you have to ask somebody if they're trying to get into Star Wars books, like what do you like? For prequels, honestly, I would recommend reading the Revenge of the Sith novel just off the bat, because if you've seen the movie, like Chaco said, it makes it better threefold. And I would say Lost Stars for the Age of Rebellion, and then I would say Bloodline for Resistance, because that book is, if you don't like politics, it could get maybe a little tedious, but I enjoy seeing the ins and outs of the New Republic. So that book was a real hit for me. And then honestly, the High Republic is just a great place for anybody to start, because it's so far removed, but it's still Star Wars and you still have familiar elements, but it's new characters, new stories, new places, and it's a great fun way to get involved, because it's a little out there. Some of the things in the High Republic are a little bit out there, which I think is when Star Wars is at its best. So I would definitely recommend that. What am I looking forward to? If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Visions, but since that has passed, I would say either Kenobi or The Acolyte, just because I'm a High Republic buff. I love it so much. It's Dark Side, which I said earlier in the podcast, I think we need more of some Dark Side centered stories. And we don't really know that much about it, so there's an element of
we just know
surprise.
Yeah, only thing I think we know is that it's near the tail end of the High Republic.
Exactly.
So
so that's what I would say I'm looking forward to most. And where you can find me, basically Jedi.Connor on all platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, soon YouTube. And yeah, just thank you, all of you guys. This was a great conversation and just kind of reinvigorated my inspiration to like make content. Like after this, I feel like making like 10 videos about whatever. But yeah, just thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome to have you guys on. Every week is different, and like it's last week we talked about Asian representation, and like this week there's such different conversations, but so good. Next week I want to do like a reversal type thing. So next week I'm gonna have a bunch of people that were brand new to Star Wars as of the past year, and kind of get their thoughts. So I have Bad Recaps is coming on, and I believe Nico. There's a few people that are going to be popping on. But yeah, if you want to hear the thoughts of Star Wars from the eyes of a brand new fan, please tune in next week. Oh, also, I'm super excited to have Alex from Star Wars Explained coming on the week after that. But
For real?
Nice.
That's sick, dude. We
Oh,
had him
man.
on. Yo, Chaco, I think you probably saw this on social media. Jared had Alex and Molly on like to talk about Wave 2 of the High Republic, and I was so mad I wasn't able to be on because I had a wedding reception this.
Man.
yeah, well, I was trying to get him on for this episode, but they're on a anniversary trip right now. But
Oh, yeah.
no, it's super cool. I've gotten to talk to him before, but it's such a cool network. Anyone that is like not into, and it's okay not to be into canon or whatever, but once you get to the positive side of Star Wars fandom, it's the best community of any community I've ever been a part of. Like,
Yep.
bar none. I've met so many amazing people and had so many awesome experiences. So if you are listening to this, you're probably already one of us, but if not, we would be honored if you would join us. I fully agree with you guys. Finding out what era of Star Wars someone is into is a really good way to start. But Vader 2017 is my go-to recommendation in the comics, because who doesn't like Vader? And if you like originals, or if it doesn't matter where you like Star Wars, it's right in between. It's self-contained. It's beautiful. For books, like you said, Lost Stars is great. Master and Apprentice, I think, is an excellent starting point as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Dude, I lost like those two. A friend of mine asked Kevin on Twitter if he worked with Claudia and like worked really closely with Claudia when he was writing Dooku Jedi Lost and when she was working on Master and Apprentice, because like there's a lot of links to those two, and he said he did. So just they're basically a duology.
Yeah. So. Absolutely. I call it the Rail duology.
Yeah.
Rail Avros is the guy. And
hearing his voice in the Dooku Jedi Lost audiobook threw me for a loop, because I didn't know he was Southern. And I was like, who the heck is this guy? And I was like, oh, it's Rail.
Okay. I love Mark Thompson. I'd love to have him on at some point in time. Listening to him do Mace Windu is terrible.
Oh God!
I'm not surprised.
But yeah, it's Mace Windu with a Southern accent sometimes, and it's weird. It takes you out of it. Anyways, thank you guys once again for coming on. All of you guys are welcome to come back. I will extend invites to all of you again. I certainly appreciate having people, because I didn't know this existed, the ability to nerd out like this. I didn't know this existed until we were all forced into quarantine. And we all, I don't know if we all just got weirder or what, but it's amazing. And so I appreciate it. But yeah, until the next time, thanks again for joining, and may the Force be with you always.